In this video, we're going to show you how to replace the ignition pickup on your GMC K1500. This will be located inside of the distributor under the cap. Let's get started. We're going to remove the two top nuts for our intake. We only have one, you should have two. Lift straight up and remove the intake. We're going to start by marking our ignition wires. We're going to start in the front right, and this will be 1. I'm going to make a second mark. And then we're going to go to 8. And 4. I'm going to mark the side as well. This will be 3, 6 in the back. This is 5, 7. This is 2. And this one is just going to the front. So I'm just going to put a little mark there. Now we can remove all of our wires. On the front and back, you're going to find two 5.5mm bolts. We're going to remove these 2 bolts. You don't have to remove them out of the cap, you just have to get them loose. Remove the distributor cap. Remove the 2 connectors off the ignition control module. Lift up on the tab and push back. There's a bolt for a clamp right under this plate. It's going to be a 15mm bolt. You can either use a swivel socket or you can get a distributor wrench, 9/16 or 15mm. Remove the bolt and the clamp, but do not move the distributor yet. Leave it in its position. Using a marker or a punch, we're going to make marks on our distributor that are going to line up with our block. You can see very slightly the shiny mark right here, and that will match with a mark on the distributor. And these marks are going to help us line this back up when we're going back together. We're going to make one more mark for our rotor cap. I just went off of this black tab, pointed the marker straight down, and that'll be our position. When we pull this distributor up, our cap is going to spin because it's a helical gear. We're going to pull straight up, pull it straight up and remove the shaft. Using a punch, remove the pin in the bottom of the shaft. I have a rag wrapped around our shaft, and it's in a vise. Fully remove the pin. We're going to very gently pull down with the help of a screwdriver. And remove the gear from the shaft. We're going to remove the connector for the ignition control module. I'm going to open it up and push it back. removing it off of that control module. We're going to lift up on our assembly. Remove the shaft. I'm going to take a clean rag with some parts cleaner and wipe down the shaft of all of the old gunky oil. This rod should have came out nice and smooth, but it was a bit of a struggle for us. Now if we try to put it back in, nice and smooth. I have a mark on the bottom here, and that's just so I know which side the pin was on that I took out, and I have a corresponding mark on that gear. We're going to use a pick and pick up on these tabs around this circle pressure clip. We have to remove this pressure clip. Remove the clip. Remove the copper dish. And remove the ignition pickup coil. I'm going to clean all of these corrosion pieces out of this dish. Install the ignition pickup with this alignment tab going into the hole. This little pin will act as a locator on the other side as well. Drop it down and in, being sure that pin is set. You can try and wiggle it back and forth, and it shouldn't move on this back side. Install the copper dish. Grab the new pressure clip. Then I'm going to use a 17mm socket. It fits around. I'm going to push straight down. And half of our clip is seated. I'm going to finish pushing it down using a flat blade screwdriver. Pull the connector around and install it onto our ignition module. Make sure that clicks into place. Install the rotor cap shaft. I have it set on my mark. We're going to reinstall the gear onto the shaft. Be sure that you have the washer and the grooved spacer. Line up the hole for the pin. We're going to tap our pin into place. Once you get close to the gear, swap over and use a punch to finish it off. Get the pin flush. We're going to go back to our car, but just before we do that, so you can easily see our markings, these are the markings that we made that are going to correspond to the engine block. Before installing the distributor, we're going to clean our mating surface. If you used a marker to paint your mark, be sure you put it right back if you take it off. When you're wiping this, don't wipe it into the motor, wipe it away. You can see right here, that shiny metal, that's my punch mark. That's going to line up with our distributor punch mark. So it's easier to see on installation. I'm just going to put a little bit of blue marker there. And we'll line that blue mark up with the 2 on the distributor. Install the distributor. And we can see our blue marks on the bottom there are lined up, and this distributor cap is lined up on our initial marking. We're going to install our clamp and bolt after we're sure that our distributor is lined up with our marks. We're going to snug our bolt down, get it nice and snug. Install the connectors for the ignition module. Install the rotor cap. There's alignment pins in it, so once it's set, you won't be able to twist it back and forth. It also sits on top of the ignition module. There's a cutout for it. Get the bolts nice and snug. You'll feel them bottom out. I'm going to go around installing our ignition coils, starting with 1, being sure they click into place. Then we'll go to the other side and find 8. Four, 3, 6, 5, 7. We're going to put in our center one, and 2. So one more time. This is 1, 8, 4, 3, 6, 5, 7, 2. Make sure the boot gets installed onto the intake. Drop this down into place. Install the top 2 nuts. Snug them down. And you're good to go.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.